As the evening hours unfold and the world outside begins to hush, your body, too, shifts into a quieter rhythm. The air cools, light dims, and signals from the brain begin to encourage rest. Yet beneath the stillness, an entire network of internal processes continues steady, silent, and unwavering. Among them, the digestive system carries on, softly managing the task of nourishment and renewal. Tonight, we turn inward. In this calm exploration, we will follow the journey of digestion, not in a hurried or clinical way, but slowly and gently, as if tracing the path of a stream at night. This system, often unnoticed, quietly supports every cell, every breath, every motion. Even as we rest, it provides, cleanses, and restores. The human body is an orchestra of systems, and like an orchestra, each part plays in time with the others. The circulatory system moves blood, the respiratory system draws in air, and the nervous system interprets the world around us. The digestive system, often called the gastrointestinal tract or GI system, is the body's method of taking what is outside of us and transforming it into something deeply personal, the building blocks of our cells, tissues, and energy. But it is more than a mechanical series of tubes and acids. It is tuned to your rhythms, it is shaped by your choices, and it quietly keeps time with your breath and sleep. To begin, imagine your body in its natural resting state, perhaps lying in bed or reclining in a quiet space, muscles gently relaxed, the heart beating in its calm nighttime tempo, air flowing softly in and out of your lungs. Beneath that stillness, food consumed earlier in the day is still being processed. Enzymes, secretions, and peristaltic waves continue their work with elegant consistency. In the body, digestion is not confined to moments of eating. It begins before the first bite, with the anticipation of a meal, and it continues long after we finish, well into the night. This extended process can take hours, as the body carefully separates the essential from the unnecessary, breaks food into absorbable forms, and sends nutrients to where they are most needed. To support this, the digestive system works in stages. Each organ contributes something unique, from chewing and mixing to secreting and absorbing. While it is common to think of digestion as something that happens in the stomach alone, in truth, the entire system is involved. From the mouth and esophagus, through the stomach and small intestine, to the liver, pancreas, colon, and rectum, each plays a part in the quiet choreography of nourishment. What makes this system especially fascinating is its ability to operate in harmony with other functions. When the body is active, digestion slows, conserving energy for movement. When the body is at rest, it ramps up again, taking advantage of the body's stillness to carry out its deeper processes. This is one reason why nighttime and sleep itself is such a valuable window for internal restoration. And as we begin this journey, it's worth noting something quietly profound. Every cell in your body is, in some way, made possible by this process. The proteins that structure your skin and muscles, the glucose that fuels your thoughts, the minerals that regulate your heartbeat, all of these arise, at least in part, from what the digestive system delivers. It is not just about food, but about transformation, from the outer world to your inner self. Many systems in the body are reactive, the immune system responding to threats, or the muscular system engaging with movement. But digestion is largely rhythmic. It has a schedule, a cadence. It prepares, it absorbs, and it clears away. And it does so with remarkably little conscious effort. Most of us need not think about how enzymes are released or how bile is produced. These things happen on their own, gently and predictably. The beauty of this quiet system is that it doesn't demand our attention. It supports us, regardless. Whether you've just finished a nourishing meal or are a few hours into a peaceful fast, your body is engaged in some form of digestive work. Even during sleep, tissues are being repaired, glycogen is being restored, and fluids are being balanced. The liver, one of the most versatile organs in the body, continues its detoxifying and nutrient-converting tasks well into the night. Tonight, as you drift gently into sleep, this lecture will serve as a companion to that journey, an invitation to learn not through urgency, but through ease. The aim is not to memorize, but to be immersed, to let the story of your own body unfold softly in your mind. We begin with an open heart and a calm pace. As we proceed into the anatomy and function of the digestive system, we will explore each structure gently, observing its form and purpose without pressure. You may picture these organs softly if you wish: the winding path of the intestines, the layered walls of the stomach, the hidden but vital pancreas nestled near the duodenum. Or you may simply listen and allow the words to wash over you as the mind prepares for rest. There is no need to hold on to facts. Just allow them to settle naturally, like dust gently falling onto a quiet surface. In the next part, we will begin our descent into the digestive tract, starting where digestion first becomes physical in the mouth and tracing its journey step by step. For now, you are invited to rest in the knowledge that your body, in all its complexity, knows how to care for itself even while you sleep. 2. Why digestion matters even at rest. In the soft hours of the night, when your surroundings grow still and your body begins to relax, the importance of digestion quietly persists. While the world outside slumbers, your inner world continues its vital work. The hum of organs, the gentle flow of fluids, the calm movements of muscle and enzyme all proceed in harmony, ensuring that life is quietly sustained. Digestion, often thought of as an event linked solely to eating, is in truth a prolonged, ongoing function. Long after the last bite has been swallowed and the dishes have been cleared, the body is still deeply involved in processing, absorbing, and distributing the nutrients you've taken in. This effort does not cease with the setting sun, in fact. Certain parts of it thrive in the tranquility of rest. The purpose of digestion is deceptively simple: to take the substances we consume and transform them into forms the body can use. This involves breaking down complex molecules, carbohydrates, proteins, fats into their simpler components: sugars, amino acids, and fatty acids. These are then absorbed into the bloodstream, transported to cells, and either used immediately for energy or stored for later needs. At night, these processes slow, but they do not stop. Instead, the pace becomes more measured, less interrupted by the demands of motion, stress, or sensory input. In this quieter state, the body focuses more intently on healing and replenishing. Nutrients absorbed during the day are directed toward tissue repair, hormone production, and cellular maintenance functions essential to long-term well-being. Consider the small intestine, where most absorption occurs. Its inner walls, lined with millions of tiny finger-like projections called villi, are actively drawing nutrients into the body well into the night. These microscopic structures increase the surface area dramatically, allowing more efficient absorption. While you sleep, they continue to collect vitamins, minerals, and energy-bearing molecules, passing them gently into the bloodstream. The bloodstream, in turn, acts as a nighttime delivery service, quietly transporting glucose to the brain, calcium to the bones, and iron to the marrow. It carries the amino acids needed to repair skin, muscle, and organ tissue, and delivers the fatty acids essential for nerve insulation and hormone synthesis. Without this constant, silent transportation, the body could not maintain its structure or function. Meanwhile, in the liver, one of the most active organs during sleep, another kind of digestion takes place. The liver does not just process nutrients. It sorts them, modifies them, and prepares them for use or storage. It converts excess glucose into glycogen, a storable form of sugar. It transforms amino acids into the components needed to build proteins, and it detoxifies substances, ensuring that any waste or harmful compounds are rendered harmless and eliminated. This night shift work is particularly important because it supports the body's circadian rhythm, the internal clock that governs everything from temperature regulation to hormone release. At night, certain digestive enzymes increase while others decrease. Hormones such as insulin, glucagon, and cortisol shift their levels to align with the body's lower energy demands and its focus on restoration. Sleep, then, is not a suspension of activity. It is a redirection. Instead of fueling motion and mental alertness, digestion during rest supports renewal. It allows the gut to focus on absorption, the liver to focus on sorting, and the tissues to focus on rebuilding. One of the most striking features of digestion is its contribution to homeostasis, the body's ability to maintain a steady internal state despite changing conditions. Nutrients from digestion help regulate pH levels, blood sugar, hydration, and electrolyte balance. These, in turn, affect nearly every other system from the nervous system's firing patterns to the heart's rhythm. For instance, the calcium absorbed from food is not only used to strengthen bones, it is also essential for muscle contraction, including the beating of the heart. Magnesium influences sleep quality. B vitamins affect energy metabolism. Zinc supports immune function. All of these micronutrients, delivered through the digestive system, act as silent agents of balance. Another quiet hero is dietary fiber, a plant component that humans cannot digest. Though it passes through the system largely unchanged, fiber plays an important role in regulating movement through the intestines. It also feeds the gut microbiome, a vast community of bacteria that assist in digestion, produce certain vitamins, and influence everything from immunity to mood. These gut microbes thrive on undigested fibers and produce byproducts such as short-chain fatty acids, which support colon health and reduce inflammation. Their work continues deep into the night, forming a partnership with your own cells to support digestive and overall health. In many ways, digestion is not just something the body does, but something the body and its microscopic inhabitants do together. During sleep, the parasympathetic nervous system, often called the rest and digest branch, becomes more dominant. This system calms the heart rate, slows the breath, and enhances digestion. It gently stimulates smooth muscle contractions in the intestines, known as peristalsis, helping to move food along the tract. This is why light, well-timed meals can support better rest, and why digestion and sleep are so closely linked. When digestion is supported by rest, its effects ripple outward. The brain is better nourished, the skin appears healthier, and the immune system functions more effectively. Conversely, when digestion is hindered by stress, poor diet, or irregular sleep, the body struggles to maintain its delicate internal balance. Thus, digestion matters not just during meals, but long after. It is an ongoing act of quiet service processing, repairing, maintaining, aiding recovery, preparing you for the next day. As you drift further into sleep, know that this system continues on, not demanding your attention, but quietly sustaining you. Each molecule of glucose, each strand of amino acid, each drop of absorbed water contributes in its own way to the gentle equilibrium of life. In the next part, we will begin to follow this process in earnest, starting with the first stage of digestion in the mouth, where food meets the body for the first time. But for now, simply rest in the knowledge that the body is never truly idle. It is always caring for you, even when you are unaware of it. 3. The digestive system at a glance. The digestive system is not a single organ, but rather a long, continuous passageway. a soft tunnel of living tissue shaped to transform food into the fuel and raw materials of life. Though we often experience it in parts a grumbling stomach, a sensation of fullness, or a moment of hunger, digestion is, in truth, a seamless process, one stage flowing gently into the next. Tonight, we will take a calm and unhurried tour of this system, not to memorize names or functions, but simply to become familiar with the quiet sequence by which the body nourishes itself. Like tracing the slow path of a river from its source to its outlet, we will follow the course of digestion from entry to exit, observing each region and the role it plays in the great interior work of life. The journey begins at the mouth. This is where the digestive system meets the outside world, where food is tasted, chewed, and moistened. Here, both mechanical and chemical processes begin. Teeth grind food into smaller particles, while the tongue helps mix and position it. Salivary glands, tucked quietly around the mouth and jaw, release saliva, a mixture rich in enzymes like amylase, which begins the breakdown of carbohydrates. Even before swallowing, digestion has already begun. Next comes the esophagus, a soft, muscular tube that connects the mouth to the stomach. It lies quietly behind the windpipe, guiding food downward through a series of rhythmic muscle contractions known as peristalsis. These waves of motion push the food gently along, without gravity's assistance. You could, in fact, swallow even while upside down. Such is the reliability of peristalsis. At the lower end of the esophagus, a small muscular ring, the lower esophageal sphincter, relaxes to allow food into the stomach, then closes again to prevent upward flow. The stomach, often imagined as a simple pouch, is a far more complex chamber. It is lined with layers of muscle that churn and mix its contents. Glands within the stomach walls secrete hydrochloric acid and enzymes, such as pepsin, to begin the breakdown of proteins. Though the interior environment is quite acidic, the stomach protects itself with a thick layer of mucus. Food is gradually transformed into a semi-liquid substance called chyme, a softened, partially digested mixture that moves onward in slow pulses. From the stomach, chyme passes into the small intestine, a long, looping tube that fills much of the abdominal cavity. Despite its name, the small intestine is the longest part of the digestive tract, measuring around 6 meters in length in an adult. It is here that most digestion and nearly all absorption occur. This process is supported by contributions from the liver, pancreas, and gallbladder, accessory organs that quietly deliver their secretions into the upper portion of the small intestine, known as the duodenum. The liver produces bile, a yellow-green fluid essential for emulsifying fats, allowing them to be digested more efficiently. The gallbladder, a small pear-shaped sac beneath the liver, stores and concentrates this bile, releasing it into the intestine when fats are present. The pancreas, nestled gently behind the stomach, produces a cocktail of digestive enzymes and bicarbonate, which neutralizes stomach acid and allows enzymes to function effectively in the more delicate environment of the small intestine. The small intestine itself is divided into 3 parts: the duodenum, where chemical digestion is most active; the jejunum, where absorption begins in earnest; and the ileum, which continues this absorption, particularly of vitamins and bile salts. The inner surface of the small intestine is lined with folds, villi, and microvilli structures that create an expansive surface area, allowing for efficient uptake of nutrients. Each villus is like a small finger, covered with even smaller projections, forming a quiet landscape of absorption. What is not absorbed in the small intestine continues its journey to the large intestine, also known as the colon. Here, the pace slows even further. The colon is wider and shorter than the small intestine, and its role is less about digestion and more about reclamation. Water, salts, and some remaining nutrients are absorbed here, and the material that remains is compacted into waste. The colon is also home to trillions of microorganisms, the gut microbiota, which play a subtle but essential role in digestion, immune function, and vitamin production. The colon leads to the rectum, where waste is stored until it is ready to be expelled. The anus, with its two sphincters, one voluntary, one involuntary, marks the end of the digestive tract. The journey is complete. This long and winding pathway from mouth to anus is sometimes called the alimentary canal. It is surrounded and supported by a series of accessory organs: the salivary glands, liver, pancreas, and gallbladder. Together they form a system interconnected, interdependent, and tirelessly at work. Throughout this network, smooth muscles move rhythmically, secretions are carefully timed, and feedback loops ensure coordination. Nerves and hormones regulate the pace of digestion, signaling when to release enzymes, when to absorb, and when to clear. This coordination is so refined that it typically unfolds without a single thought from you. At a glance, the digestive system may seem simple, a tube through which food passes. But beneath that simplicity lies a network of chemical reactions, muscular choreography, and sensory feedback. It is the foundation of nourishment, the gateway through which the outer world becomes the substance of your inner self. And so, as you rest, this system continues in its quiet rhythm. The organs, tissues, and microscopic helpers all contribute to your well-being, transforming nutrients into energy, rebuilding tissues, and supporting the balance required for deep, restorative sleep. In the next part, we'll begin our close-up exploration with the first true act of digestion, the mouth, a place where food is not only tasted and enjoyed, but also carefully prepared for its deeper journey inward. 4. The first encounter, digestion, begins in the mouth. Before digestion can begin in earnest, there is a first encounter, subtle, often taken for granted, yet rich with biological purpose. This encounter occurs in the mouth, or more precisely, within the quiet choreography between teeth, tongue, salivary glands, and a soft, sensory awareness of taste and texture. It is here, at the very gateway to the digestive tract, that the body first receives what will become its fuel. We often associate the mouth with eating, with flavors and satisfaction, but beneath those familiar sensations lies a highly coordinated series of preparatory tasks. The mouth is not only where digestion begins, it is where the body evaluates, grinds, moistens, and begins the process of breaking down what it has taken in. When food enters the mouth, it is met immediately by the teeth. These are not uniform structures. Incisors, the flat, sharp teeth at the front, are built for cutting. Canines, more pointed, help to tear. Molars and premolars, with their broad, ridged surfaces, grind and crush. Each bite, each motion of the jaw, contributes to the process known as mechanical digestion, physically breaking food into smaller pieces, increasing its surface area, and making it more manageable for the digestive enzymes that follow. The tongue plays its own part, more nimble and sensitive than we often realize. It moves food across the teeth, gathers it, and shapes it into a soft, compact mass known as a bolus. At the same time, it tastes, evaluates temperature, and detects texture. Thousands of taste buds, nestled in the papillae on the tongue's surface, register signals of sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. These sensations do more than provide pleasure, they prepare the body, triggering salivary flow and setting digestive reflexes in motion. Saliva itself is a remarkable fluid, mostly water, but enriched with proteins, electrolytes, enzymes, and mucins. It is produced by 3 pairs of major salivary glands: the parotid glands near the ears, the submandibular glands beneath the jaw, and the sublingual glands under the tongue. Countless minor salivary glands scattered throughout the mouth also contribute. Each gland works quietly, secreting just the right amount at the right time, controlled by both reflexive and sensory cues. Within saliva are enzymes, most notably amylase, an enzyme that begins the breakdown of starches into simpler sugars. Though the bulk of digestion will occur later, this initial chemical processing begins almost immediately. If you hold a piece of bread in your mouth long enough, you may notice it begins to taste slightly sweet, a result of amylase breaking starch into sugar. Another enzyme, lingual lipase, is secreted in small amounts and begins the preliminary digestion of fats, though its primary activity occurs later in the stomach. Saliva also serves mechanical and protective roles. It moistens food, easing its passage. It contains lysozyme, an antimicrobial enzyme that helps protect the mouth from pathogens. And it creates a slippery texture that allows the tongue and cheeks to manipulate the food without injury or friction. As chewing continues, the bolus becomes more cohesive. Eventually, when it reaches the right size and consistency, the tongue pushes it gently to the back of the mouth toward the pharynx, the space where mouth, nasal passages, and throat converge. This transition initiates swallowing, a process known medically as deglutition. Swallowing may feel like a simple action, but it involves a highly coordinated sequence of muscle movements, occurring in 3 stages. The first, voluntary stage, involves the tongue pushing the bolus backward. Once the bolus enters the oropharynx, the second stage, the pharyngeal phase, takes over. This is reflexive and involuntary. The soft palate rises to close off the nasal passages. The larynx lifts and the epiglottis folds down, sealing the trachea and preventing food from entering the airway. This redirection is automatic, elegant, and essential for safe passage. Finally, the esophageal phase begins. The bolus enters the upper esophagus and is guided downward through peristalsis, the gentle, rhythmic contraction of smooth muscle that moves food toward the stomach. This wave-like motion continues through the entire gastrointestinal tract, a silent conveyor that propels contents forward. The mouth, then, serves not merely as a place of entry, but as a fully functional preparatory chamber. It grinds, moistens, tastes, tests, and begins to chemically alter food. It sends signals downward to the stomach, pancreas, and other organs, informing them of what is to come. It acts as both a gate and a guide. In traditional physiology, we call this part of digestion mechanical and chemical digestion in the oral cavity. But here, in the quiet hours, we may think of it simply as the body's welcome, the place where nourishment first makes contact, where it is softened, explored, and prepared for its deeper journey inward. Consider, too, how this stage of digestion is affected by mindfulness. To chew slowly is not merely polite or meditative. It allows more time for enzymes to act, for signals to travel, and for the body to ready itself. Rapid eating can overwhelm the system, sending poorly broken down food into the stomach, making its work more difficult. In contrast, when the mouth is given time to do its work fully, the entire digestive process becomes more efficient and more comfortable. Even now, as you listen, your mouth contains traces of this remarkable process. Basal levels of saliva continue to flow, keeping tissues moist, neutralizing acids, and protecting teeth and gums. Chewing gum, or simply imagining food, can stimulate salivary, release, a testament to how fully the senses and the digestive system are entwined. From the very first moment, then, digestion is both mechanical and sensory, conscious and automatic. It begins not in the stomach, as many suppose, but in the mouth, a space of taste, of texture, and of quiet readiness. In our next part, we will follow the food further down into the esophagus and beyond, observing the soft, peristaltic waves that carry nourishment into the heart of the digestive process. But for now, Let us pause in this first chamber, honoring the gentle preparation that begins it all, the mouth's silent role in welcoming life's sustenance, one soft bite at a time. 5. The esophagus, a silent conveyor. As food departs from the mouth and slips into the pharynx, the next phase of digestion unfolds with remarkable quietness. There is no splash or sudden transformation, no dramatic shift, only a smooth transition into a long, narrow passage. The esophagus. This is the body's silent conveyor, guiding nourishment from the throat to the stomach with unerring grace. Though often overlooked, the esophagus plays a vital role in digestion. It is a simple structure in appearance, a muscular tube measuring approximately 25 to 30 centimeters in length, but its function is both delicate and essential. Its role is singular, to move swallowed material from the mouth to the stomach, steadily, safely, and without interruption. The esophagus begins at the base of the throat, behind the trachea, and extends downward through the chest cavity. It passes behind the heart and lungs, weaving through the mediastinum, and finally pierces the diaphragm, the thin sheet of muscle separating the chest from the abdomen. This final passage brings it to the stomach's entrance, tucked beneath the lower left ribs. What makes this journey possible is a mechanism called peristalsis, a rhythmic wave of muscle contractions that travel in sequence down the esophageal wall. These contractions are not voluntary. You do not direct them with your thoughts, nor can you sense their motion. But they occur with perfect timing, squeezing the bolus, that softened mass of food, downward gently, like fingers guiding a marble through a narrow tube. Peristalsis is powered by layers of smooth muscle. The inner circular muscles contract just behind the bolus to push it forward, while the outer longitudinal muscles shorten the pathway ahead, making travel easier. This combination ensures that food is not merely dropped into the stomach, but ushered there in a controlled, uninterrupted flow. The esophageal lining is smooth and lubricated, allowing the bolus to glide easily. Specialized glands along the wall secrete mucus to further aid this motion, reducing friction and protecting the tissue from mechanical wear. Along the esophagus, there are two key control point sphincters that manage the flow of material. The first is the upper esophageal sphincter, located at the top where the esophagus meets the pharynx. This muscular ring remains tightly closed most of the time, preventing air from entering the esophagus during breathing. It opens only briefly during swallowing, then closes again with quiet precision. The second is the lower esophageal sphincter, also known as the cardiac sphincter, found where the esophagus meets the stomach. It is not a distinct anatomical structure, but rather a zone of higher muscular tone. This sphincter is critically important. It must relax to allow the bolus to enter the stomach, then contract again to prevent the stomach's acidic contents from flowing backward. In a healthy system, this valve operates silently and reliably. When it weakens or relaxes inappropriately, gastric contents may reflux into the esophagus, leading to irritation, a condition many recognize as heartburn. But in the calm of a resting body, especially during sleep, the pressure between these two chambers is carefully maintained. An often overlooked aspect of the esophagus is that it possesses no role in digestion itself. It does not break down food, nor does it absorb nutrients. It is instead a bridge, a smooth, focused conduit that simply delivers, but in its simplicity lies great elegance. Without its steady action, digestion could not proceed. The esophagus is also deeply connected to the nervous system. Its movements are controlled not by conscious intent, but by the autonomic nervous system, specifically the enteric nervous system, often called the second brain of the gut. This internal network of neurons regulates peristalsis, responds to pressure, and coordinates timing with the stomach. Even a minor disruption to this balance can affect the rhythm of swallowing and transit. The act of swallowing and the esophagus's response is so intricately wired into our biology that it is among the earliest reflexes to develop. Even in the womb, unborn infants swallow amniotic fluid, training this reflex for life outside. Once born, we continue to swallow hundreds, even thousands of times a day with every sip, every bite, every swallow of saliva. And though we rarely notice, this system is always ready. You do not need to prepare it or command it. Whether you eat quickly or slowly, whether the food is warm or cool, soft or slightly textured, the esophagus adapts. It contracts just enough, in just the right sequence, to carry your meal downward, one swallow at a time. As night falls and the body enters rest, the esophagus continues to serve quietly. Should small amounts of saliva or swallowed air need to pass, it does so without fuss. If food remains in the stomach for some time, the lower sphincter prevents its return. In this way, the esophagus helps maintain the one-way nature of digestion, guiding food in, but never back out. And so, this segment of the journey, narrow, quiet, efficient, is complete. The bolus, now softened and warmed, arrives at the stomach. The lower sphincter opens for a moment, and then closes again, sealing the food within a chamber prepared for more complex processing. In our next part, we will descend into the stomach itself, a muscular basin of mixing and chemical breakdown, where digestion deepens and the true transformation begins. But for now, you may rest in the knowledge that, even in its most hidden corners, your body carries out its work with care. The esophagus, silent and unseen, remains ever faithful to its purpose, a simple path from intake to processing, built to guide with perfect calm. 6. The stomach mixing, breaking, soothing. As food leaves the esophagus and slips gently past the lower esophageal sphincter, it enters the stomach, a hollow, muscular chamber nestled beneath the diaphragm, resting quietly in the upper left portion of the abdomen. Though it is often imagined as a simple pouch, the stomach is in fact a highly dynamic organ, one that combines forceful motion with subtle chemical work, all within a carefully regulated environment. It is here, in this dim and folded chamber, that digestion deepens. The stomach is not merely a holding space, but a mixer, a reactor, and a gentle gatekeeper. It receives what we eat and begins the complex process of transforming food into forms the body can absorb, softening structures, dissolving bonds, and preparing the way for deeper integration into the self. The stomach's walls are layered with strong muscles, oriented in multiple directions, longitudinal, circular, and oblique. This allows the stomach to churn and knead its contents with a motion that is both deliberate and rhythmic. As food settles within, the stomach begins a process called mechanical digestion, not unlike a quiet kneading of dough, folding and pressing the bolus into smaller and softer particles. While this physical mixing occurs, glands in the stomach lining secrete a series of specialized fluids. The most prominent of these is hydrochloric acid, HCl, a strong acid that helps unravel proteins and kill potentially harmful microbes. This acidic environment, with a pH often between 1.5 and 3.5, is inhospitable to most bacteria and acts as a natural defense barrier. At the same time, another secretion, pepsinogen, is released by specialized cells, known as chief cells. When pepsinogen encounters hydrochloric acid, it is converted into pepsin, an active enzyme that begins the digestion of proteins. Pepsin works by breaking the long chains of amino acids that make up proteins into shorter fragments, a task essential for later absorption. To protect itself from its own acidic environment, the stomach secretes mucus, a thick, slippery coating that lines the inner surface and prevents the acid from damaging the tissue beneath. This mucus is not a passive layer. It is constantly renewed and adjusted based on the stomach's activity, ensuring that the walls remain intact even as digestion intensifies. Another important secretion is intrinsic factor, a glycoprotein that plays a vital role in the absorption of vitamin B1 dues, later in the small intestine. Without intrinsic factor, even a diet rich in B1 dues would not be enough to prevent deficiency. Thus, the stomach's work reaches far beyond its own borders, setting the stage for later steps in nutrient uptake. As the stomach processes its contents, the food now softened, partially digested, and mixed with gastric juices is transformed into a thick, soupy mixture called chyme. This chyme collects near the lower end of the stomach, at the pylorus, where it awaits the next phase of its journey. But the stomach does not rush. Its muscular contractions are paced and controlled, allowing chyme to be released into the small intestine in small amounts, typically no more than a teaspoon at a time. This release is governed by the pyloric sphincter, a circular muscle that opens and closes in response to signals from the digestive system. In this way, the stomach ensures that the small intestine is not overwhelmed and can process the chyme efficiently. The rate at which the stomach empties depends on several factors. Liquids leave more quickly than solids. Simple carbohydrates pass through faster than fats or proteins, and larger meals tend to require more time than smaller ones. The stomach senses these differences and adjusts accordingly, slowing or accelerating its contractions to match the needs of the meal. Beyond its chemical and mechanical functions, the stomach is also a sensory organ. It detects stretch and fullness, relaying this information to the brain to create sensations of satiety. This feedback loop helps regulate appetite and ensures that the body takes in what it needs, no more, and ideally, no less. And though the stomach is associated with digestion, it is deeply connected to emotion. The phrase, a gut feeling, arises from the complex interplay between the stomach and the brain. The stomach contains a rich network of neurons, part of the enteric nervous system, and communicates directly with the central nervous system via the vagus nerve. This connection is so strong that anxiety, stress, and emotional shifts can alter stomach activity, changing the pace of digestion or triggering sensations of discomfort. Yet during rest, and especially during sleep, these systems calm. The parasympathetic nervous system predominates, promoting digestion, enhancing blood flow to the stomach, and encouraging the steady churning and secretion needed to transform food into usable forms. In this restful state, the stomach performs its duties quietly, without demand or disruption. Even its shape is adaptable. When empty, the stomach contracts into a small, folded sac. But as it fills, it expands easily, accommodating meals of varying sizes. Its walls stretch without pain, and its muscular layers coordinate to maintain a balanced internal pressure. This elasticity allows the stomach to serve not only as a processor, but also as a temporary reservoir holding food until the small intestine is ready to continue the work. There are moments when the stomach signals discomfort, a sense of fullness, or a faint ache after overeating. These signals, while sometimes unpleasant, are reminders of the stomach's sensitivity and its protective role. It is always aware, always responsive, adjusting its secretions and contractions based on need, not demand. And so, the stomach, often imagined as a place of turmoil, is in fact one of remarkable balance. It breaks down and softens, it guards and informs, it waits and it releases, all without conscious input. Even as you lie in bed, its inner workings continue with gentle precision, preparing nutrients for deeper absorption and filtering what the body can use from what it must release. In our next part, we will meet three of the stomach's closest collaborators: the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas, each contributing something essential to the digestive symphony. These organs do not touch food directly, but their secretions shape what happens next. For now, rest in the knowledge that within your abdomen lies a chamber of transformation, warm, shielded, steady, tirelessly turning the world outside into nourishment within. 7. The liver and gallbladder, the quiet chemists. As digestion progresses beyond the stomach, the complexity of the process deepens. Though food itself never enters their tissues, the liver and gallbladder play a quiet yet indispensable role in the orchestration of digestion. Like patient chemists working in the background, they prepare, modify, and store essential substances, ensuring that the body can fully absorb and utilize the nutrients it receives. The liver, the largest internal organ in the body, rests gently beneath the right side of the rib cage, just above the stomach and intestine. Its reddish-brown surface is smooth and richly supplied with blood vessels, hinting at its ceaseless activity. At any given moment, the liver is processing blood that has absorbed nutrients from the digestive tract, filtering it, analyzing it, and responding to the body's needs in real time. One of the liver's most significant contributions to digestion is the production of bile, a yellow-green fluid essential for the breakdown of dietary fats. Unlike carbohydrates and proteins, fats do not dissolve in water, and therefore require a unique approach. Bile contains substances called bile salts, which act like detergents, surrounding fat droplets and breaking them into smaller, more manageable pieces in a process known as emulsification. By increasing the surface area of fat droplets, bile allows enzymes from the pancreas, particularly lipase, to access and digest fats more effectively. Without this emulsifying step, fat digestion would be inefficient and incomplete. And yet, despite its vital importance, bile is released with quiet discretion, in just the right amount, at just the right time. Once produced by the liver, bile travels through a series of small ducts. Some of it flows directly into the small intestine, but much is stored in the gallbladder, a small, pear-shaped sac nestled beneath the liver. The gallbladder holds and concentrates bile between meals, keeping it ready for the next encounter with dietary fat. When food, especially rich or fatty food, enters the small intestine, hormonal signals prompt the gallbladder to contract, releasing bile into the duodenum, the uppermost section of the small intestine. Here, it meets chyme from the stomach and begins its work, quietly transforming fat into forms the body can absorb. This partnership between liver and gallbladder is elegantly timed. The liver produces continuously, like a steady stream. The gallbladder waits, responding only when needed. And through this collaboration, the body gains access to vital components of nutrition: essential fatty acids, fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, and the building blocks of cellular membranes and hormones. Beyond bile, the liver performs a remarkable array of tasks. It acts as a chemical processing plant, converting excess glucose into glycogen for storage, and later reconverting it back into glucose when energy is needed. It metabolizes amino acids, recycles old red blood cells, and detoxifies substances that enter the body, whether they come from food, medication, or the environment. The liver also synthesizes blood proteins, such as albumin, which helps maintain fluid balance in the bloodstream, and clotting factors, which are essential for healing wounds. Every minute, the liver is engaged in dozens of such functions, regulating and stabilizing the internal environment without the need for rest or recognition. Its structure reflects this workload. The liver is composed of thousands of tiny functional units called lobules, each centered around a central vein and surrounded by a network of hepatocytes, the liver's workhorse cells. Blood flows through these lobules, delivering nutrients and toxins alike, while the cells sort, store, break down, and rebuild as needed. In many ways, the liver is a quiet mediator between the digestive system and the rest of the body. Nutrients absorbed in the small intestine do not go directly into general circulation. Instead, they travel first to the liver through the hepatic portal vein, a specialized blood vessel that delivers these substances for processing. This detour, known as first-pass metabolism, allows the liver to monitor and manage what enters the bloodstream, acting as a gatekeeper of sorts. And yet, for all its responsibilities, the liver is remarkably forgiving. It can endure damage, regenerate tissue, and adapt to changing needs. This regenerative ability is one of the most striking features in human physiology, with even small portions of the liver capable of restoring lost function over time. The gallbladder, though smaller and less well known, plays its role with precision. It concentrates bile by removing water, making the fluid more potent. It stores this concentrated bile until signaled to act, and when the moment comes, it responds with grace, contracting in response to the hormone cholecystokinin, released when fat enters the small intestine. This coordination between food entering the gut, hormones signaling the gallbladder, and the release of bile is effortless and nearly invisible, and yet it is essential to digestive health. Without proper bile release, fats may pass through the intestine unabsorbed, leading to discomfort, deficiencies, and imbalance. As night settles in and digestion continues its slow, rhythmic pace, the liver and gallbladder remain attentive. The liver continues to filter blood, manage sugar levels, and prepare enzymes. The gallbladder remains ready, should late digestion require another pulse of bile, and all of this unfolds in harmony, without disruption. Together, these organs represent one of the body's most sophisticated internal partnerships. They do not touch food, they do not churn or absorb, but without them, digestion could not proceed. They embody support quiet, essential, tireless. In the next part, we will turn to another key partner in this digestive ensemble, the pancreas, an organ with dual roles, straddling the worlds of digestion and blood sugar regulation. But for now, let yourself rest in the knowledge that deep within, there is a system of gentle chemistry at work filtering, storing, and delivering with perfect balance, all while you sleep. 8. The pancreas enzyme mastermind. Nestled behind the stomach, tucked gently in the curve of the small intestine's uppermost segment, lies an organ of quiet brilliance, the pancreas. Though soft in appearance and often hidden from awareness, this elongated gland plays a central role in digestion. It is, in many ways, the enzyme mastermind of the digestive system, orchestrating the precise chemical breakdown of the food we eat. The pancreas is both an exocrine and endocrine organ, meaning it serves two roles, producing secretions that travel through ducts to aid digestion, and hormones that enter the bloodstream to regulate the body's internal environment. Tonight, we will focus on its digestive function, the exocrine role that unfolds with such subtle effectiveness in the hours after a meal. When partially digested food chyme leaves the stomach and enters the duodenum, the first section of the small intestine, it brings with it a certain intensity. The chyme is acidic, filled with gastric juices and semi-digested proteins and fats. To continue the digestive journey without harming the sensitive lining of the intestine, the environment must shift from acidic to neutral, from coarse to refined. This is where the pancreas steps in. In response to hormonal signals from the small intestine, particularly secretin and cholecystokinin, the pancreas releases a fluid rich in enzymes and bicarbonate into the pancreatic duct, which merges with the common bile duct. Together, they empty their contents into the duodenum through a small opening called the ampulla of Vater, regulated by a muscular valve known as the sphincter of Oddi. The first task of this pancreatic fluid is to neutralize stomach acid. The bicarbonate ions it contains act like a gentle buffer, transforming the low pH of the chyme into a more neutral range, a necessary shift for the enzymes that follow. Without this step, the sensitive lining of the small intestine would be at risk, and the enzymes needed for digestion would be rendered inactive. Once the pH is balanced, the pancreatic enzymes begin their work. Each one has a specific role, a unique shape that fits the molecules it is meant to process. These enzymes do not act randomly, they are precise tools, finely tuned to unlock the bonds that hold food molecules together. One of the most abundant is amylase, which continues the work begun in the mouth by breaking down complex carbohydrates, long chains of starch, into simpler sugars such as maltose and glucose, forms that can be absorbed by the intestinal lining. Another key enzyme is lipase, essential for fat digestion. Fat molecules, though emulsified by bile, still require enzymatic cleavage to become usable. Lipase breaks triglycerides into free fatty acids and monoglycerides, smaller units that can pass through intestinal walls and eventually enter the lymphatic system. Then there are the proteases, enzymes that target proteins. Chief among them are trypsin and chymotrypsin, which are initially released in inactive forms trypsinogen and chymotrypsinogen to prevent the pancreas from digesting itself. Only once in the small intestine are these enzymes activated, beginning with enterokinase, an enzyme found in the intestinal wall, which converts trypsinogen to trypsin. Trypsin, in turn, activates other proteases, initiating the careful breakdown of proteins into short peptides and individual amino acids. These amino acids, sugars, and fatty acid fragments are the fundamental building blocks of life. They are small enough to be absorbed across the intestinal wall, entering the bloodstream or lymph for distribution throughout the body. Muscles will rebuild themselves with these amino acids. The brain will draw energy from the glucose. Hormones and cellular membranes will be fashioned from the fats. All of this is made possible by the enzymes flowing softly from the pancreas. But the pancreas does more than simply provide enzymes. It regulates their release with exquisite timing. It senses the composition of the chyme and adjusts its secretions accordingly. If the meal is heavy in fat, more lipase is produced. If rich in protein, protease secretion increases. The pancreas works in harmony with the needs of the moment, never wasting energy, never overwhelming the system. Though its digestive role is exocrine, that is, directed outward into the intestine, the pancreas's endocrine role is equally profound, though quieter in our current context. Scattered among its enzyme-producing cells are clusters known as the islets of Langerhans, which produce insulin, glucagon, and other hormones that regulate blood sugar levels. These hormones are vital to maintaining energy balance, but their story unfolds more fully in a different conversation. For now, we return to the digestive role, a task performed without sensation, without urgency, without the need for our awareness. The pancreas does not announce its efforts. It simply responds. It releases, it adjusts, and then it recedes again into quiet readiness. At night, after a day's intake of food and drink, the pancreas continues its work in a more subdued rhythm. As the last waves of chyme move through the upper intestine, the final enzyme secretions are made. The ducts close, the muscle valves relax, and the system returns to a state of soft watchfulness. In a healthy body, you do not feel the pancreas working. You do not hear it or sense its secretions. And yet, without it, digestion would falter. Nutrients would remain locked in their original form, too large, too complex to be absorbed. And so, the pancreas, tucked behind the scenes, between the stomach and spine, serves as one of the body's most silent engineers. It designs, prepares, and delivers the tools that allow your body to thrive. In the next part, we will journey deeper into the small intestine, the site of absorption where these finely digested molecules are drawn into the bloodstream and carried to nourish cells throughout the body. But for now, allow yourself to reflect on the subtle precision at work within. There is a chemistry of peace happening even now, a flow of enzymes and buffers, a soft turning of bonds into nourishment, and it all begins with the silent genius of the pancreas. 9. The small intestine where absorption happens. After the stomach has softened and blended the contents of a meal, and after the pancreas and liver have added their contributions, enzymes and bile, buffers and secretions, the journey of digestion moves onward. Now, the chyme, that delicate mixture of partially digested food, enters the longest portion of the digestive tract, the small intestine. Despite its name, the small intestine is not small in length. In an adult, it stretches approximately 6 meters, or nearly 20 feet, coiled gently within the abdominal cavity. What earns it the name small is its diameter, narrower than the large intestine, but within its walls lies a landscape of remarkable efficiency. This is the place where digestion's deeper purpose is fulfilled, the place where what was once food becomes part of you. The small intestine is divided into 3 regions, each with its own subtle role: the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. These names, soft and almost musical in their rhythm, mark the changing phases of digestion and absorption. The duodenum is the first section, short in length, but rich in activity. It receives chyme from the stomach, bile from the liver and gallbladder, and digestive enzymes from the pancreas. Here, the chemical work intensifies. Carbohydrates are broken into simple sugars, proteins are reduced to amino acids, fats are dissolved into free fatty acids and monoglycerides. The acidic chyme is neutralized, creating an environment suitable for nutrient absorption. This section acts as a mixing chamber, not just combining digestive secretions, but sensing the nature of the incoming meal and adjusting the process accordingly. Hormones like secretin and cholecystokinin are released here, regulating enzyme flow and muscular contractions further down the line. As the processed chyme moves beyond the duodenum, it enters the jejunum, the middle segment of the small intestine. This is where absorption truly begins. The inner lining of the jejunum is folded into ridges called pliques circulaires, and on these ridges are thousands of finger-like projections called villi. Each villus is covered in even tinier projections known as microvilli, forming what is called the brush border. This architecture increases the surface area for absorption, dramatically turning a narrow tube into an expansive landscape of contact points. Imagine, if you will, a soft velvet fabric, with each tiny fiber reaching upward. That is how the intestinal lining appears, at the microscopic level, ready to draw in nutrients with quiet eagerness. Within each villus lies a small capillary network and a central lymphatic vessel called a lacteal. Sugars and amino acids enter the bloodstream through the capillaries. Fats, broken down into smaller molecules and reassembled into chylomicrons, are absorbed into the lymphatic system through the lacteals, eventually making their way to the bloodstream through a different path. This division of labor blood for most nutrients, lymph for fats, allows the body to handle the various components of a meal efficiently and safely. And though we are rarely aware of it, this process happens continuously, silently, and with astonishing precision. The ileum, the final portion of the small intestine, continues the process of absorption, particularly focusing on nutrients not taken up earlier, such as vitamin B1, bile salts, and any remaining amino acids or sugars. The ileum also plays a role in immune function, containing patches of lymphoid tissue known as Peyer's patches, which monitor for harmful microbes and maintain the balance of intestinal flora. Throughout this long passage, peristaltic waves, those soft, rhythmic contractions, move the contents forward. These waves do not rush. They are slow and measured, allowing time for absorption. Between the waves, smaller contractions called segmentation mix the contents back and forth, ensuring that every molecule has a chance to meet the absorptive surface. This gentle churning and progression continue for hours, long after a meal has been consumed. Even as the body sleeps, the small intestine remains engaged in its quiet task, drawing in nutrients, passing them into the bloodstream, and preparing the residue for its final journey into the large intestine. In this way, the small intestine is not just a tube. It is a place of intimate contact between the world outside and the inner self. Every molecule that passes through its walls becomes part of the body's chemistry, fueling motion, building structure, and supporting the delicate processes of thought, immunity, and rest. And this contact is selective. The cells lining the intestine are equipped with transporters, specialized proteins that allow only certain molecules to pass. These cells can also detect the presence of harmful substances and respond by strengthening the barrier or triggering immune responses. Thus, the small intestine is both a gateway and a guardian. Even the gut microbiome, that vast and varied community of beneficial bacteria, plays a role in the absorption process. While most of these microbes reside in the large intestine, some inhabit the distal ileum, where they help ferment undigested fibers and produce certain vitamins, like vitamin K and some B vitamins. These byproducts are absorbed here, contributing to overall nutrition. The entire process is regulated not by a central command, but through feedback, a self-balancing system that adjusts based on content, timing, and the body's needs. Hormones and nerves communicate between sections. Signals move from gut to brain and back again. All of this ensures that the system operates in harmony, a harmony that persists even in sleep. And so, the small intestine stands as one of the most quietly productive organs in the body. It works without sound, without movement visible from the outside, and yet, in its length and complexity, it transforms nourishment into selfhood, binding food to life in the most fundamental way. In the next part, we'll pause to look more closely at the structure that makes this absorption possible, the villi and microvilli, those microscopic agents of transformation that line the inner walls of the intestine. But for now, simply rest with the understanding that even now, within your abdomen, a landscape of silent fingers reaches outward, drawing in what the body needs, absorbing, filtering, providing, and it all happens steadily, softly as you sleep. 10. The villi and microvilli, tiny structures with big purpose. Within the long, winding passage of the small intestine, a quiet miracle of design unfolds. Though the tube itself is slender and unassuming, its inner surface is unlike any other in the body, not smooth, but folded, textured, alive with thousands upon thousands of soft, finger-like projections known as villi. These structures, barely visible to the naked eye, give the small intestine an appearance not unlike velvet or moss, textured, rippled, and deeply responsive. Their purpose is simple yet profound: to increase surface area. For in digestion, surface area is everything. The more surface the body can offer to its food, the more nutrients it can absorb, the more completely it can nourish. Each villus singular of villi is a tiny projection of the intestinal wall, standing just a millimeter or so tall. But the sheer number of these projections is staggering. In a single square centimeter of intestinal lining, there may be over 1,000 villi, each covered in cells that further extend into microvilli, delicate bristle-like structures that form the brush border. Together, villi and microvilli multiply the surface area of the small intestine by an estimated 600 times. If the inner lining were unfolded and flattened, it would cover an area of roughly 200 to 250 square meters, about the size of a tennis court. And yet all of this is contained, folded gently into your abdomen, performing its function without fanfare. Each villus contains within it a small network of blood capillaries and a central lacteal, a lymphatic vessel. These internal structures form the transport channels by which absorbed nutrients are carried away. The cells lining the villi, known as enterocytes, are the ones that perform the final task of digestion and absorption. These enterocytes are not passive. Their membranes contain transporters, specialized proteins that pull sugars, amino acids, vitamins, and minerals into the cells and then into the bloodstream. Some of these transporters require energy, some function by diffusion, but all are precisely tuned to ensure that nutrients are absorbed in just the right amounts. Within the brush border, the array of microvilli atop each enterocyte, reside the final enzymes in the digestive chain. These enzymes, such as lactase, maltase, and peptidases, complete the breakdown of carbohydrates and proteins into their simplest forms. Lactase, for example, breaks down lactose, the sugar found in milk. Without sufficient lactase, lactose remains undigested, leading to discomfort, a condition many know as lactose intolerance. These microvilli are so fine, so densely packed, that a single enterocyte may have thousands of them. And yet, despite their scale, they are fully alive, renewing themselves, responding to hormonal cues, and altering their function based on the body's needs. They represent the final meeting point between the outer world of food and the inner world of the self. One of the gentle marvels of this system is its selectivity. The intestinal lining absorbs only what is useful, rejecting toxins, pathogens, and molecules too large or too foreign. When it senses potential harm, it strengthens its junctions, calls upon immune cells, or signals inflammation. This barrier is intelligent, permeable to nutrients, but defensive toward threats. The villi are also richly supplied with oxygenated blood, allowing nutrients to be transported quickly and efficiently. Glucose and amino acids enter the capillaries and flow into the hepatic portal vein, which carries them to the liver for processing. Fats, meanwhile, enter the lacteals as part of tiny packages called chylomicrons and travel first through the lymphatic system before joining the bloodstream. All of this occurs without our awareness. Even as you sleep, the villi continue their work. They move slightly, swaying in the gentle currents of intestinal fluids, increasing contact with nutrients. They absorb, they process, and they transport a constant, graceful motion like underwater plants in a quiet current. Each villus lives a brief life. The cells on its surface are renewed every few days, sloughing off and replaced by new ones rising from the crypts below. This rapid turnover ensures that the lining remains healthy, efficient, and responsive. It also means that the digestive system has one of the highest rates of cellular regeneration in the human body, a quiet testament to how vital this surface truly is. Even the immune system has a presence here. Beneath the epithelial cells lie immune cells that watch and respond, macrophages, lymphocytes, and dendritic cells that patrol for foreign invaders. In this way, the villi are not only absorptive, but protective, a living interface between nourishment and defense. And so, what might seem small, microscopic, even turns out to be vast in importance. The villi and microvilli are not merely features of anatomy. They are bridges. They are mediators. They are the very structures that allow the body to become what it eats. In the calm of the night, this absorptive landscape continues its work, each villus reaching, drawing in, delivering what is needed, each microvillus extending, fine and persistent, brushing against nutrients and gathering them inward. It is a motion as old as life itself, silent, unhurried, essential. In the next part, we'll continue the journey as the remains of digestion pass into the large intestine, a place of reclamation, of water balance, and of final transformation. But for now, know that within you, millions of quiet structures are rising and falling, reaching and absorbing, fulfilling one of the body's most important and most beautiful tasks. 11. The large intestine, final steps and gentle farewell. After the long and detailed work of digestion and absorption in the small intestine, only a modest residue remains. Most of the nutrients, sugars, amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals have already been absorbed. What enters the large intestine is no longer food in the traditional sense, but rather a gentle remnant, a blend of water, fiber, bacterial populations, and the indigestible traces of a meal now nearly complete. The large intestine, also known as the colon, is shorter than the small intestine, measuring roughly 1.5 meters in length but wider in diameter. It begins in the lower right abdomen, where the ileum of the small intestine meets the colon at a softly guarded gateway, called the ileocecal valve. Here, material enters the large intestine in small, measured amounts, beginning the final stage of its journey. This stage is not about digestion, but about reclamation, the gentle recovery of water, electrolytes, and certain vitamins, and the quiet preparation of waste for eventual release. It is a slower process, less urgent, more reflective, a soft closing chapter to the work begun in the mouth. The first section of the large intestine is the cecum, a pouch-like area that receives material from the ileum. Attached to the cecum is the small narrow tube of the appendix, once thought to be vestigial, but now known to house beneficial bacteria and immune cells, a subtle participant in the health of the gut. From the cecum, the material moves upward into the ascending colon, then across the abdomen through the transverse colon, down the left side via the descending colon, and into the shaped sigmoid colon. Finally, it enters the rectum, where it is stored until elimination. The movement of contents through the large intestine is slower than in any other part of the digestive tract. It can take anywhere from 12 to 48 hours for material to travel its length, depending on hydration, fiber intake, and individual rhythm. This pace is purposeful. It allows water to be absorbed efficiently, thickening the contents and forming what will eventually become fecal matter. The colon's inner lining lacks the villi of the small intestine, but it is rich in goblet cells which secrete mucus. This mucus coats the walls, easing passage and protecting the tissue. The colon does not secrete digestive enzymes. Instead, it plays host to an entirely different set of digestive helpers, the gut microbiota. This vast community of microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and archaea numbers in the trillions. In fact, microbial cells in the body may outnumber human cells by a factor of 1.3 to 1, and the majority of these microbes live in the large intestine. These gut bacteria are not passive inhabitants. They break down substances the human body cannot digest, such as certain fibers and complex carbohydrates. In doing so, they produce short-chain fatty acids, which nourish the colon lining, support immune function, and even influence metabolism. These microbes also synthesize certain vitamins, including vitamin K and several B vitamins, which can be absorbed by the colon and contribute to health. And beyond physical digestion, the microbiota communicates with the nervous and immune systems, shaping mood, inflammation, and resilience in ways that researchers are still discovering. This internal ecosystem is delicately balanced. Diet, stress, sleep, and medications all influence its composition. A diet rich in varied fibers supports microbial diversity. A life filled with rest and regular rhythm helps maintain harmony. And even sleep steady and uninterrupted allows the gut and its microbes to settle into peaceful function. As water is absorbed and material firms, the colon uses soft muscular contractions to move it forward. These movements, called haustral churning and mass peristalsis, occur a few times per day, often in response to meals or rising in the morning. They are not constant, but wave-like and occasional, fitting the unhurried nature of this phase. Eventually, the material reaches the rectum, a short, straight segment that acts as a temporary reservoir. The walls of the rectum are stretch-sensitive and send signals to the brain when fullness is detected. However, elimination does not occur automatically. The body has both involuntary and voluntary sphincters at the anus, allowing for control, timing, and privacy. This dual control, reflexive and conscious, is part of what makes human digestion not only effective but socially adaptive. The internal anal sphincter, made of smooth muscle, responds automatically. The external anal sphincter, made of skeletal muscle, responds to choice. In this way, the body blends the autonomy of physiology with the dignity of awareness. And then, when the time is right, the journey completes. What began as food whole, complex, and unknown has been transformed, absorbed, filtered, and finally released. What remains carries no energy, no value. It is the gentle residue of life well processed. Even this final act is not wasteful. The feces, composed of water, fiber, bacterial mass, and indigestible material, reflect the care of the digestive tract. They carry signs of health, of microbial balance, of dietary intake, and they exit the body with the same grace with which the system began. The large intestine is, in essence, a contemplative space. It does not digest. It reflects. It gathers what remains and considers what to keep. It absorbs quietly. It supports microbial life. And then it lets go. As you rest, your large intestine continues its slow, rhythmic motion. It needs no direction. It follows time, food, and flow. It reclaims, it stores, and it prepares, always patient, always sure. In our next part, we'll take a closer look at this gut microbiome, its mysteries, its benefits, and its silent, symbiotic presence within the human story. But for now, let your awareness soften. You've followed the digestive system from entry to exit, from hunger to nourishment to release. Each part has played its role, and all of it has unfolded quietly, in harmony, within you. 12. The gut microbiome life within life. Tucked away within the folds and curves of the large intestine lives a vibrant, invisible world. A world made not of organs or tissues, but of tiny living beings. Trillions of them, moving silently, interacting, reproducing, and transforming. Together, they form what we call the gut microbiome, one of the most intricate and essential symbiotic communities in the human body. This inner ecosystem is composed mostly of bacteria, but also includes archaea, viruses, fungi, and other microorganisms. Though they dwell in darkness, away from air and light, their presence is anything but passive. They influence digestion, immunity, mood, metabolism, and even the way we think and feel. At birth, the digestive tract is nearly sterile, but within hours, colonization begins from the mother's body, the surrounding environment, early feeding, and human contact. As infants grow, their microbiomes diversify. By the age of 3, a person's gut flora has taken on a relatively stable composition, one that is as unique as a fingerprint. These microbes live mostly in the colon, where undigested fibers and resistant starches provide them with nourishment. In exchange for these food sources, the microbes produce short-chain fatty acids such as butyrate, propionate, and acetate, which nourish the cells lining the colon, reduce inflammation, and help regulate metabolism. One of the microbiome's most remarkable contributions is its role in immune system education. The gut lining, which serves as a barrier between the body and the outside world, is home to a significant portion of the body's immune cells. Microbes communicate with these immune cells, helping them distinguish between harmless substances and potential threats. This ongoing dialogue reduces the risk of overreaction, such as allergies or autoimmune conditions, and supports a calm, balanced immune response. The microbiome also assists in synthesizing certain vitamins, including vitamin K and several B vitamins. These nutrients are absorbed in the colon, helping the body maintain healthy blood clotting, nerve function, and energy metabolism. In essence, your microbes are also tiny chemical factories producing what your own body cannot make on its own. And there is more. These microbes interact with the enteric nervous system, that network of nerves embedded in the walls of the digestive tract, often called the second brain, through chemical messengers and neural pathways. They influence the central nervous system, impacting mood, stress levels, and mental clarity. This connection, known as the gut-brain axis, is one of the most fascinating areas of modern biology. For example, certain strains of bacteria are known to produce neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, and gamma-aminobutyric acid, GABA, substances that regulate mood and emotion. In fact, the majority of serotonin in the body is produced not in the brain, but in the gut. While this serotonin does not cross into the brain directly, it affects the nervous system and contributes to the sense of calm, well-being, and rhythm that supports restful sleep. In this way, your gut is not just digesting, it is feeling, sensing, and responding. The health of the microbiome depends on many factors. Diet is perhaps the most influential. A varied, plant-rich diet with plenty of fiber encourages microbial diversity, which in turn supports resilience. Prebiotic fibers found in foods like garlic, onions, leeks, bananas, and oats serve as food for beneficial microbes. Probiotic foods such as yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and miso introduce live microbes into the system, helping maintain balance. Other influences include stress levels, sleep patterns, medications, especially antibiotics, and even physical activity. A calm, well-regulated lifestyle tends to support a calm, well-regulated gut. Disruption to the microbiome, on the other hand, called dysbiosis, can lead to discomfort, inflammation, and a range of imbalances, from digestive irregularity to mood disturbances. Yet the microbiome is adaptable. It can recover. It learns, reshapes, and responds to new inputs. Even after periods of illness or disruption, it can regain its balance, particularly when supported with patience, nourishment, and rhythm. Scientists now believe that the microbiome influences not only the health of the digestive tract, but also conditions throughout the body, from obesity and diabetes to depression and cognitive function. The complexity of these relationships is still unfolding, but one thing is clear: to care for your microbiome is to care for yourself in a profoundly intimate way. One might imagine these microbes as passengers, but in truth, they are partners. Their lives are woven into ours. They depend on our choices, and in return, they offer stability, resilience, and quiet protection. They are ancient, adaptive, and ever-present part of the deep intelligence of the body. Even now, as you rest, your microbiome is gently active. It feeds, communicates, and supports. It processes the final remnants of your meal. It interacts with immune cells, soothes inflammation, and helps maintain the barrier that lines your gut. It whispers messages to your nervous system, encouraging stillness and calm. And so, within you, there is not one life, but many, a community, living in harmony, supporting every breath, every step, and every dream, a life within life. In the next part, we will step back and consider the remarkable coordination of the digestive system as a whole, the rhythm, timing, and signaling that bind this complex system into a seamless flow. But for now, allow yourself to settle deeper into rest. The journey through digestion has brought you far from bite to absorption, from cells to symbiosis. And through it all, a hidden world has been working quietly for you. 13. Harmony and regulation. How digestion stays in sync. Behind the complex flow of digestion, from chewing to absorption, from enzyme release to nutrient uptake, lies a remarkable truth. The entire process is coordinated with exquisite precision. Every contraction, every secretion, every transition from one stage to the next is not random. but governed by systems of regulation that ensure digestion proceeds smoothly, silently, and in harmony with the body's needs. This coordination is made possible by a deeply integrated network of nervous signals, hormonal cues, and local reflexes, each working together like instruments in an orchestra. They do not require conscious control. They respond to sensation, chemical presence, stretch, acidity, and time, always adjusting, always flowing. At the heart of this system is the enteric nervous system, ENS, often called the second brain of the body. It is composed of more than 100 million neurons embedded in the lining of the gastrointestinal tract more than in the spinal cord. These neurons form two main networks: the myenteric plexus, which regulates muscular activity, and the submucosal plexus, which oversees secretion and local blood flow. The ENS operates independently, but communicates closely with the central nervous system through the autonomic nervous system, particularly the vagus nerve. This cranial nerve sends signals from the brain to the gut and back again, enabling responses to hunger, fullness, stress, and calm. When the body is in a relaxed state governed by the parasympathetic branch, digestion is encouraged. Muscles contract rhythmically, secretions flow, and absorption is prioritized. Conversely, when the body enters a state of alertness under the sympathetic system, digestion slows, blood is redirected away from the gut, muscle contractions pause, and appetite fades. This dual influence ensures that digestion occurs in moments of safety, when energy can be spared, and not during times of stress or threat. Beyond nerves, the digestive system is guided by a rich array of hormones, released in response to the presence of food, changes in pH, and stretching of the stomach and intestines. These hormones act as messengers between organs, signaling when to secrete, when to contract, and when to slow down. For example, gastrin is released by the stomach in response to food, stimulating acid production and increasing muscular contractions. Secretin, released by the small intestine, tells the pancreas to release bicarbonate to neutralize stomach acid. Cholecystokinin, CCK, also from the small intestine, prompts the gallbladder to release bile and slows stomach emptying. Motilin, secreted cyclically during fasting, helps regulate the housekeeping contractions that clear the gut between meals. These hormones do not act in isolation. They respond to feedback, adapting to the size and type of meal, to the time of day, and to the individual's metabolic rhythm. Their release is gentle, their effects gradual, all designed to preserve the smoothness of digestion. Within the gut itself, local reflexes play a critical role. Stretch receptors in the stomach trigger peristaltic waves. The presence of acid or fat in the small intestine slows gastric emptying. As food progresses, chemical sensors detect nutrients, triggering enzyme secretion and absorption mechanisms. These reflexes happen within the gut wall, requiring no instruction from the brain, another reminder of how independent and wise this system truly is. The digestive tract also follows a quiet circadian rhythm, tuned to cycles of light and dark, feeding and fasting. During the day, enzymes and hormones are produced in greater quantity. Blood flow to the gut increases. Muscular contractions are more active. At night, the system slows. Peristalsis softens. Hormone levels shift. The body rests, and digestion continues at a slower, quieter pace. There is, too, a pattern of waves known as the migrating motor complex that sweeps through the stomach and small intestine during fasting periods. These waves act as a cleansing rhythm, clearing residual food, secretions, and bacteria between meals. They ensure the system is ready for the next intake, balanced and clear. All of this happens without thought. There is no need to direct it, to remember it, or to interfere. The body has evolved over millennia to perform these tasks seamlessly. Even minor disruptions, a skipped meal, a sudden emotion, are managed and absorbed as the system recalibrates and rebalances. In health, these regulatory mechanisms create a sense of digestive rhythm. Hunger arrives softly, with warmth and readiness. Fullness follows, with satisfaction and rest. Digestion proceeds gently, and the body receives what it needs. When this rhythm is supported by regular meals, a calm environment, and adequate rest, the entire system works at its most harmonious. Disruptions can occur, of course. Stress can pause digestion. Inflammation can confuse signals. Certain conditions can interfere with hormone release or nerve function. But even then, the system seeks balance. It adapts, compensates, heals, given time and care. The great wonder of the digestive system is not just its complexity, but its quiet coherence. Every cell, every secretion, every motion is part of a larger whole. No organ works in isolation. The stomach responds to signals from the brain. The intestine reacts to the pace of the stomach. The pancreas, liver, gallbladder, and microbes all contribute their part, each waiting, each responding, each in time. As you lie in stillness, perhaps with the gentle rhythm of your breath rising and falling, know that this same rhythm echoes within. The gut moves slowly, waves of contraction sweeping across its length. Glands release their final secretions. Nutrients are ferried into the bloodstream. Water is reclaimed. Microbes exchange chemical messages. It is a symphony played without sound, a system of movement without motion, and it continues hour after hour, day after day, because your body is designed not only to live, but to thrive, to nourish, and to rest. In our next part, we'll conclude this journey with a gentle reflection, a summary of what digestion truly is, and how its quiet brilliance mirrors the deeper intelligence of the body. But for now, let yourself soften. There is nothing you need to do. Digestion, like rest, is an act of trust. And in this moment, both are happening with grace. 14. Digestive reflections, the quiet intelligence of the body. Now, having journeyed softly through the winding corridors of the digestive system from the first scent of a meal to the final release of what remains, we arrive at a moment of still reflection. In this final part, we step back to see the full picture, to understand not just the structure and process, but the deep, quiet intelligence that lives within the body, guiding every phase of digestion with calm purpose. Digestion is often described as a mechanical or chemical process, and while that is true, it is also so much more. It is rhythmic, adaptive, intuitive. It begins not with eating, but with sensing a smell, a taste, a moment of hunger, and from that point onward, the body begins its orchestration. Every part of the system, from the salivary glands to the large intestine, plays its role without the need for our direction. The stomach does not ask to be told when to churn. The pancreas does not wait for instruction to release enzymes. The small intestine does not hesitate in deciding which nutrients to absorb. They simply know. This knowing is not conscious in the way we understand thought, but it is wisdom nonetheless, the kind of wisdom shaped by evolution, refined by experience, encoded in every cell, a wisdom that recognizes when to begin, when to pause, when to let go. At the heart of this system is the idea of flow. Food flows into the mouth, broken down with care. It flows down the esophagus, into the stomach, where it is softened and blended. It flows into the small intestine, where its most useful parts are drawn in and made part of the self. What is not needed continues onward, refined, condensed, and eventually released. And all of this happens in motion, gentle waves, pulsing secretions, opening valves, closing sphincters. This flow is slow and deliberate, attuned to the pace of the body, never rushed, never hasty. Even when hurried by external life, the digestive system moves at its own tempo, always prioritizing balance over speed. We've seen the layers of complexity, the enzymes that know exactly what bonds to break, the hormones that whisper across organs, the nerves that respond to stretch and acidity, the microbes that ferment and soothe and nourish. But beneath all these details is something beautifully simple, a system that knows how to transform the world outside into something the body can use. To eat is to take in part of the world. To digest is to transform it. And to absorb is to decide what becomes part of you. This cycle repeats with every meal, every bite, an unspoken act of trust, of cooperation between you and the living systems within. There is a gentleness in this process. It is not harsh or invasive. It doesn't force. It receives. It prepares. It breaks things down, not to destroy them, but to unlock their value. It welcomes nourishment, and it lets go of what is not needed, without resistance or regret. Even the act of elimination, often hidden or hurried in modern life, is in truth a graceful finale, a gentle goodbye to what has served its purpose, a reminder that life moves in cycles: intake, transformation, release, a pattern echoed not just in digestion, but in every corner of nature. As you rest now, with your breath slow and steady, know that your digestive system rests with you. The major work may be done for the day. The final contractions may be unfolding quietly, the last nutrients absorbed, the final signals sent. The microbes hum in their unseen colonies. The gut lining renews its cells. The liver stores its energy. The pancreas prepares for tomorrow. Even in sleep, this intelligent machinery continues its soft work, repairing, maintaining, balancing. And if you listen with the stillness of your attention, you might notice how much of life mirrors this digestive wisdom. The ability to take in, to hold gently, to break down what is too large, to absorb what nourishes, and to release what no longer serves. Digestion is not only biological, it is metaphorical. It is a way of being in the world. When overwhelmed, the body slows digestion, just as we too need rest when life feels too much. When calm, digestion flows freely, just as thoughts and emotions settle when we are at ease. The body's rhythms mirror our inner rhythms, and when we support one, we support the other. So tonight, or whenever this finds you, allow this reflection to settle in you like a gentle tide. Your body, in all its quiet brilliance, has been tending to you all along. Every cell, every secretion, every subtle contraction, a gesture of care, a movement toward nourishment and renewal. The digestive system may not speak in words, but it offers one of the clearest expressions of the body's silent intelligence. It is a process as old as life, and yet it unfolds anew each day, without demand, without disruption, and always in service of your well-being. May you rest now with the same ease that digestion brings, slowly, rhythmically, peacefully. The body knows what to do. You are safely held in its rhythm. 15. A slow journey through you, revisiting the digestive pathway. As we draw this quiet journey to a close, let us gently walk once more along the path we've taken, not in haste, but in reverence. Not to relearn, but to remember. To let the body's wisdom echo once more through the soft corridors of your attention. We began at the mouth, a place so familiar, so simple in daily life, yet so richly designed. The lips, the tongue, the salivary glands. Together, they welcomed each bite, not just with movement, but with preparation. Saliva moistened and softened. Teeth broke food into pieces. Taste offered the first signals of what was to come. Then, in an act as ancient as swallowing itself, food moved into the esophagus, the long, unassuming tube that carries nourishment from above to below. Silent, Muscular waves guided it down toward the waiting chamber of the stomach. There, deep in the upper abdomen, the stomach welcomed food not as a foreign object, but as something to be transformed. Acid and enzymes mingled with rhythm and motion. Proteins unfolded. Fats began to soften. Chime that warm, blended mixture began to form. From the stomach, the journey continued into the small intestine through the curve of the duodenum, where secretions from the pancreas and liver joined the flow. Enzymes were released. Bile entered, and the acidic chyme was gently neutralized. This was not only digestion, but chemistry unfolding softly and precisely. The pancreas, delicate and tucked behind the stomach, released enzymes that broke bonds with care. The liver, vast and wise, crafted bile and filtered nutrients. The gallbladder, pear-shaped and patient, timed the release of bile to match the needs of digestion. As the chyme moved further into the jejunum and ileum, the inner lining reached out to meet it. Villi and microvilli, like fields of tiny fingers, absorbed sugars, amino acids, fatty acids, minerals, the small, quiet building blocks of life. Each nutrient, absorbed through silence, passed into blood or lymph and began its journey to support the body. Behind this transformation was the microbiome, a thriving community living in the large intestine. Invisible to the eye, yet immensely powerful, these microbes fermented fibers, calmed inflammation, and whispered chemical messages to the nervous system. They were companions, co-creators of health, living within life. The large intestine, broad and gentle in its pace, absorbed what water remained. It reclaimed electrolytes. It formed waste into a soft final offering to be released in time, without urgency, without judgment. The rectum, the sphincters, the final coordination, all part of a goodbye that marked the end of a meal's journey. And throughout it all, there was rhythm, muscular waves, chemical pulses, hormonal signals, neural flows. Each step responded to the one before. Each organ waited for its cue. The digestive system was not a series of parts, it was a flow, a single continuous process, from first bite to final release. We must remember, too, that digestion is not only what the body does, it is also how the body lives. It is the way in which the outer world becomes inner substance, the way what is unfamiliar becomes known, the way energy, growth, and repair are sustained not by thought or will, but by quiet, ongoing transformation. And through it all, the body asks nothing of you but trust. To eat when hungry, to rest when full, to pause when tired, to notice the small cues, a soft sigh, a slowing breath, a quiet yawn, that signal alignment. The digestive system is not demanding. It does not push. It waits. It responds. It moves in time with you. Even now, as you lie still, the final movements of digestion continue. Enzymes taper off. Absorption quiets. The microbial hum softens. The muscles of the gut slow their rhythm, preparing for stillness. And as the body turns inward for the night, the digestive system joins it retreating, but ready for the next beginning. This slow journey through you from mouth to cell, from bite to breath, is not a thing to master. It is a thing to honor, to marvel at, to feel, even faintly, in the quiet hours. So as this talk draws to a close, allow yourself to feel the fullness of what you've learned, not as facts, but as gentle truths. Let them settle like leaves on still water. Let them drift. Let them nourish. And let your body, wise, ancient, unspoken, continue its work in peace. 16. Nighttime digestion. What happens while you sleep? As the sky darkens and the rhythms of the day begin to slow, so too does the body settle into a different state, one that favors rest, renewal, and quiet, internal work. Among the many systems that continue to function as we sleep, the digestive system follows its own nocturnal rhythm. While not as active as during the waking hours, it does not fully rest. Instead, it adapts. It moves from the energetic pace of daytime processing to a softer, slower mode, one that aligns with the body's deeper circadian needs. Sleep and digestion are intimately connected. The body is guided by internal clocks, collections of specialized cells that measure the passage of time, linked to the rise and fall of sunlight. These clocks exist not only in the brain in the suprachiasmatic nucleus, but also in the digestive tract itself. Each organ in the system knows when to expect nourishment, when to ramp up activity, and when to quiet down. During the night, when food intake ceases, the body enters a fasted state. This shift is not just about the absence of eating. It is a signal for the gut to perform a different kind of work, the work of cleaning, repairing, and restoring balance. The migrating motor complex, a slow wave of muscular contraction, activates periodically in the stomach and small intestine. Its purpose is to sweep away undigested material, residual food particles, and bacteria that may have lingered too long in places they do not belong. This gentle housekeeping process occurs in phases, usually every 90 to 120 minutes during fasting, and is essential to maintaining gut health. It prevents overgrowth of bacteria in the upper small intestine and prepares the digestive tract for the next day's activity. It is a quiet choreography that few ever notice, and yet it shapes our digestion in meaningful ways. Hormone levels shift during the night as well. With no new food arriving, the secretion of digestive hormones like gastrin, secretin, and cholecystokinin decreases. In their place, the body elevates melatonin, the hormone of darkness and sleep. Though melatonin is best known for regulating sleep cycles, it also affects the gut, calming motility, soothing inflammation, and reducing oxidative stress. Some cells in the gastrointestinal tract even produce their own melatonin, acting in synchrony with the brain to maintain balance. Meanwhile, the liver, that masterful multitasker, begins its nightly duties. Freed from processing immediate nutrients, it focuses on detoxification, converting byproducts of metabolism into forms the kidneys can later eliminate. It also releases stored glucose into the bloodstream as needed, ensuring that cells, especially those in the brain, continue to receive steady energy through the night. In the colon, microbial activity persists. The gut microbiota, largely fed during the day, continue to digest what remains of dietary fiber, producing beneficial short-chain fatty acids. These byproducts nourish the cells lining the colon and help regulate immune responses. Night is a time of microbial reshuffling, a time when certain species flourish while others recede, maintaining the diversity and balance of the internal ecosystem. Sleep itself influences these patterns. Deep sleep, especially stages of non-REM sleep, enhances gut repair, supports epithelial renewal, and allows for a deeper anti-inflammatory state. The intestinal lining, which renews rapidly, turning over every few days, benefits from these restorative hours. The gut is not idle during sleep. It is gently mending itself, preparing to serve again with clarity and strength. But if sleep is disturbed, if rest is shallow, inconsistent, or too brief, digestion may suffer. Hormonal balance can be disrupted. The microbiome may shift in less favorable directions. Sensitivity in the gut may increase. Even the timing of gastric emptying and absorption may change. This is why consistent, restful sleep is as vital to digestion as fiber or hydration. Nighttime digestion is not about processing new food, but about integration. It is the time when nutrients already absorbed are delivered to tissues, when the intestinal barrier is renewed, when microbial communities reestablish equilibrium. It is a time of softness, slowness, and behind-the-scenes care. Eating habits can gently support this rhythm. Meals taken earlier in the evening, ideally 2 to 3 hours before sleep, allow the stomach time to empty, reducing the likelihood of reflux or disrupted rest. Warm, simple meals, easy to digest, tend to harmonize better with the body's winding down. Just as the sun cues the brain to wake, darkness cues the gut to calm. Lights dim, movement fades, and the body draws inward. The gut, once busy with chewing and churning, becomes more still. But even in stillness, it watches, repairs, flows. Perhaps this is one of the quiet gifts of the digestive system, that it continues to serve us even in sleep. It does not rest in the way we do, but it uses our rest to deepen its care. It performs with less urgency, but greater reflection, and in doing so, it prepares us to rise again nourished, cleansed, and balanced. As you lie here now, know that your digestive system is softly at work. No alarms, no tasks, just quiet movement, invisible chemistry, silent preparation. The migrating motor complex pulses through the small intestine. The microbiota whisper in the darkness. The liver flows. The cells renew. And all of this happens with your eyes closed, your breath steady, your mind drifting. Digestion, like sleep, is one of nature's oldest gifts, and together, they cradle you in the deep, steady rhythm of life. 17. The gut, brain connection emotions, memory, and the digestive flow. Within the soft inner landscape of the digestive system lies an extraordinary channel of communication, a quiet thread that runs not just through the gut itself, but all the way to the brain. This is the gut-brain connection, a bidirectional network of nerves, chemicals, and cells that allows your belly and your thoughts to speak to one another in subtle and profound ways. This conversation happens constantly. It is not loud. It does not shout or interrupt, but it shapes how we feel, how we digest, how we sleep, and even how we remember. At the center of this connection is the enteric nervous system, sometimes called the second brain. It is made up of millions of neurons more than the spinal cord woven through the walls of the digestive tract from the esophagus to the rectum. These neurons don't just follow orders from the brain. They think in their own way. They sense, respond, and even learn. The vagus nerve, a long, wandering highway of nerves that runs from the brainstem to the abdomen, carries signals between the central nervous system and the gut. It is the primary messenger of calm. When the vagus nerve is activated, often during moments of deep rest, breathing, or safety, digestion is encouraged. Saliva flows, the stomach churns, enzymes are released. The body understands. Now is a good time to eat and to heal. But the connection runs in both directions. The gut also sends signals to the brain, messages about satiety, nutrient content, microbial balance, inflammation, and more. In fact, some researchers estimate that up to 90% of the fibers in the vagus nerve carry information from the body to the brain, not the other way around. One of the most intriguing aspects of this connection is its influence on emotion. The gut produces a variety of neurotransmitters, chemical messengers like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, which are also central to mood and mental health. Though these gut-derived molecules don't always cross directly into the brain, they interact with local nerve endings, immune cells, and the vagus nerve itself, shaping our experience of anxiety, comfort, and peace. The vast majority of the body's serotonin, for example, is made in the gut. This chemical is often associated with well-being and mood regulation. Its release helps regulate gut movement, but it also influences sensitivity, pain perception, and feelings of contentment. When gut health is stable, serotonin levels tend to follow. When disrupted by stress, diet, or inflammation, both digestion and mood can be affected. In the same way, emotional states can shape digestion. When stress arises, the sympathetic nervous system takes the lead, reducing blood flow to the gut, slowing movement, and tightening sphincters. This is not a flaw, but a survival adaptation. In times of danger, energy is conserved for action, not digestion. But in modern life, where stress is often chronic and unrelenting, the gut can remain in this restrained state for longer than is helpful. This is why practices that calm the nervous system, slow breathing, restful sleep, gentle movement, quiet reflection so often lead to improved digestion. They do not treat the gut directly. Instead, they soften the environment in which digestion happens. They invite the body to return to balance. The gut microbiome also plays a central role in this connection. Certain bacterial strains can influence neurotransmitter production, reduce stress hormones, and even impact behavior in animals. Human studies are still evolving, but the message is becoming clearer. A balanced microbiome supports not just physical health, but mental clarity and emotional steadiness. Emerging research suggests that this gut-brain dialogue may even influence memory and learning. Some studies indicate that the microbiota can affect the hippocampus, the part of the brain involved in memory formation, through immune signaling and metabolic byproducts. The full picture is still forming, but the idea is deeply human. How we digest the world shapes how we remember it. Even the language we use reflects this connection. We speak of gut feelings, butterflies in the stomach, or a sinking feeling. These are not just metaphors. They are echoes of real sensations, the result of nerve signals and chemical shifts occurring deep in the abdomen in response to thoughts, memories, or moments of uncertainty. And so, the digestive system becomes more than a series of organs. It becomes an emotional landscape, a place where the physical and the mental meet, where thoughts and enzymes coexist, where mood and movement are braided together. This connection, though powerful, is also quiet. It asks only for rhythm, care, and listening. Regular meals, restful sleep, soothing nourishment, time for stillness. These are not just good for the gut, they are good for the self. And as you lie here now, in the softness of night, your brain and your belly continue their quiet conversation. They do not need you to interfere. They speak in pulses, in waves, in whispers of chemistry. The vagus nerve carries messages of calm. The gut processes the last of the day's nutrients. Neurotransmitters balance. Cells respond. Peace returns. The gut-brain connection is not a switch to be flipped, but a current to be supported through rest, breath, and attention. It is part of why sleep is so healing, why calmness soothes the body, why care for the gut is, in a deeper way, care for the mind. In the next part, we'll bring this journey toward its close with a final reflection on digestive health as a lifelong rhythm and how gentle daily choices can keep this system in steady, peaceful motion. But for now, let the conversation continue without you needing to listen. The body knows what to say. The brain knows what to hear. And in this quiet, mutual knowing, sleep becomes deeper still. 18. Digestive health and daily rhythm, supporting the system with ease. Digestive health is not achieved in a single moment, nor is it maintained by any one habit alone. Rather, it is a soft, steady rhythm, a reflection of how the body responds to the quiet patterns of daily life. The digestive system thrives when it is met with consistency, calm, and care. And though it works without asking, it is strengthened when we live in tune with its needs. Throughout this gentle series, we've explored the intricate inner world of digestion, the structures, the functions, the signals and rhythms. But here we step back once more to observe not the anatomy, but the lifestyle that supports it. For while the digestive system is marvelously autonomous, it is shaped by the choices we make each day softly, subtly, over time. At the heart of digestive health lies routine. The body appreciates rhythm, waking at similar hours, sleeping when the day quiets, eating at regular times. These routines guide the body's internal clocks, helping enzymes, hormones, and muscle contractions to occur at the right time, in the right place. When meals are regular, the gut prepares more efficiently. Secretions are timed. Movements follow a pattern. Everything flows with greater ease. Gentle eating habits also play a quiet but powerful role. Eating slowly allows time for digestive signals to arise, for saliva to coat food, for the stomach to prepare its acids, for hormones to signal satiety. In contrast, rushed meals, eaten while distracted or stressed, can hinder this coordination. The body may not realize food has arrived. Enzyme production may lag. Fullness cues may come too late. Thus, a simple practice, sitting, breathing, chewing with attention, becomes a form of support. It is not about restriction or control. It is about offering the digestive system the environment it prefers. Unhurried, mindful, and steady. Food itself is, of course, a key influence, but digestive health is rarely about strict rules. It is about balance and variety. Fiber found in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, seeds nourishes the gut lining and feeds beneficial microbes. Fermented foods bring in friendly bacteria. Hydration keeps contents moving. Gentle fats, complex carbohydrates, and a diversity of colors on the plate support not just the body, but the entire microbial community within. Just as important as what is consumed is when it is consumed. Late-night eating can disrupt the digestive rest cycle, keeping the stomach active when the body wishes to sleep. Allowing 2 or more hours between the last meal and bedtime supports not only gut rest, but deeper sleep. It allows the migrating motor complex to sweep the intestines. It gives the liver time to shift from digestion to repair. Movement supports digestion as well. A simple walk after a meal encourages circulation, stimulates intestinal motion, and aids in nutrient transport. Even gentle stretching can ease tension in the abdomen and promote better flow. The gut responds well to motion not intense or forced, but natural, rhythmic, and regular. Rest, too, is essential. The body digests best in a state of parasympathetic calm, the rest and digest mode. Chronic stress can lead to slower stomach emptying, heightened sensitivity, or even disruptions in the microbiome. Practices that invite relaxation, like slow breathing, time in nature, quiet moments without screens, support the nervous system, which in turn supports digestion. Sleep, as we've seen, is the backdrop for repair and microbial balance. Consistent, unbroken sleep allows the digestive tract to finish its tasks. It strengthens the gut-brain connection. It permits the circadian rhythms of digestion to remain intact. These are not difficult tasks. They are gentle ones. They do not demand perfection. They ask only for regularity and awareness. A body that receives its meals with calm, that rests when the day ends, that moves gently, and that listens quietly. This is a body whose digestion will serve it well. The body is forgiving. If a day is busy, or a meal is rushed, or a night of sleep is broken, the system adjusts. But over time, the patterns we choose become the language the body listens to. Each choice, repeated with softness, becomes part of the body's rhythm. Even emotions have their place. Joy, connection, laughter. These are not separate from biology. They stimulate the vagus nerve, soften muscular tension, and release hormones that support digestion. In this way, living well and digesting well are not so different. They are two sides of the same rhythm, a rhythm that asks for presence, breath, and care. And so, digestive health is not a task to complete, but a relationship to tend. Like a quiet garden, it responds to regular watering, soft footsteps, and protection from harsh conditions. The more we care gently, the more resilient the system becomes. As you lie here, You might consider how deeply the body works to serve you not only in processing food, but in protecting, absorbing, filtering, and releasing. Every part of it seeks balance. Every cell seeks harmony, and all of it depends on the quiet constancy of rhythm. In the final part to come, we will offer a closing reflection, a gentle farewell to this inner journey, and a return to the deep trust that lives in the body's silence. But for now, feel yourself in that rhythm. Let your breath match the gentle pace of your digestive flow. You are in harmony with the systems within, and they are in harmony with you. 19. A gentle closing, trusting the body's quiet work. And so we arrive, softly and without rush, at the final part of this gentle journey, a closing reflection on the quiet, tireless work your body performs in every moment, and the deep trust that this work deserves. Throughout this nighttime talk, we have followed the flow of digestion, from the first bite, through the winding paths of absorption, to the silent farewell of what remains. We have explored the organs, the enzymes, the hormones, and the bacteria that all contribute to this profound internal process. And in doing so, we have also touched something deeper, the quiet intelligence that guides it all. Digestion is not a performance. It is not a test. It is not a process you must manage or perfect. It is a rhythm you were born with, a current that moves through you, shaped by biology, supported by breath, and strengthened by stillness. Even when life feels scattered, digestion offers steadiness. Even when the mind is full, the gut continues its soft choreography. To live well does not require constant awareness of these details. The body does not need your attention to do its work, but when you do give attention, even gently, something changes. You begin to see your body not as a mystery, but as a companion, a quiet presence that listens, responds, and cares for you, always. You begin to notice the rhythms, the comfort of warm meals, the peace of steady sleep, the calm that follows deep breaths. You feel when digestion is flowing and when it is asking for rest. You honor hunger without urgency. You respond to fullness without guilt. You let meals be a moment of presence, not pressure. This is what it means to trust the body, to know that even in silence, it speaks. Even in stillness, it acts. Even in sleep, it cares. Digestion is just one expression of this trust, but it is a beautiful one. For each day, the body takes what the world offers. It chooses what to keep. It transforms what it can, and it lets go of what no longer serves. This, in truth, is the essence of well-being, a flow between receiving and releasing, between structure and softness, between attention and surrender. It is what the gut teaches us, again and again, without words. As you lie here now, eyes gently closed, body supported by quiet and stillness, let yourself feel the comfort of this system within you. There is no need to hold on to facts or diagrams, no need to remember the names of enzymes or pathways. Just feel the softness of knowing that everything is working, quietly, rhythmically, in your favor. Your stomach is not thinking, but it understands what to do. Your intestines are not aware, yet they act with perfect timing. Your microbes are not conscious, but they contribute to your health in 1,000 unseen ways. This is the body's gift, knowing without thought, healing without command. And when you sleep, as you may be drifting toward now, the body continues. The migrating motor complex hums, the liver clears and converts, the microbiota restore balance, cells regenerate, hormones shift. The gut works with the stars, gently, invisibly, until morning returns. You are not separate from this process. You are part of it. You are not above the system, you are the system. Every heartbeat, every breath, every drop of saliva and wave of contraction is you. not something you do, something you are. So let this final moment be one of release. You do not need to fix anything. You do not need to try. Simply rest. Allow your body to do what it has done for all your life, carry you, nourish you, support you. The digestive system is always with you, not as a burden, but as a partner, a companion on your quiet journey through the world. And now, as this talk comes to a close, may you carry with you not just knowledge, but peace. May the calm rhythm of digestion echo in your thoughts. May the softness of your breath match the softness of your gut. And may sleep find you, gently and without effort, held by the quiet work of your own body. You are home in yourself, and your body, even now, is taking care of you.